Welcome to the Ringer NFL show. I'm your host, Sheil Kapadia. A highly entertaining Week 12. Chiefs saved their season with a win over the Colts. The Cowboys come back to beat the Eagles. Lions, Bears, Jaguars all survive. So where do things stand with the NFC and AFC playoff pictures, and what's going to change in the next 6 weeks? That's what we're talking about today. Our guest is my friend, the Ringer's own Diante Lee. Let's take a break and come back with Diante. This is the Ringer NFL show presented by FanDuel, the best place to bet the NFL all season long. FanDuel's got it all. Same game parlays, quick bets for jumping in live, and your way so you can build the bet that fits your play. And Missouri, get excited because FanDuel's coming your way December 1st. Download the FanDuel.com/Ringer NFL to get started. Must be 21 plus and present in select states and 18 plus in DC, Kentucky, and Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. All right, we are back on the Ringer NFL show with Diante Lee. We're going to go over the playoff picture, NFC first, then AFC, talk about what's going to change, what's real, what's not. But Diante, we just got finished watching Sunday Night Football. And let me start with this. I think the Rams are the only trustworthy team in the NFL. I'm serious. They're the only team that I'm sure is good. And by that, I mean well coached on both sides of the ball and quarterback that I trust. If those are your only qualifications after Week 12 for a team is good, I don't know that there's another team in the NFL that I can actually say that about.
I mean, I can't imagine having a more jarring experience if you're a casual NFL fan. If you're watching Eagles Cowboys and watching the Eagles stumble over themselves in the second half, and then you flip over to Sunday Night Football, and within a quarter and a half, the Rams are basically just totally dispatched of another playoff quality team, right? So I'm right there with you. As I was watching, I think it might have been the second touchdown to Devontae Adams. I was like, man, this is just what a Super Bowl level team looks like. When they have food in front of them, they don't play with their food. March right up and down the field. Defense looks faster than the offense. They look like they have every bit of their opponent's tendencies scouted out. And they just marched up and down the field to the point where at halftime, Bucs head coach Todd Bowles was basically lost for answers. It's like, I mean, I think we need to run the ball because we can't give their offense the ball back. We also just aren't executing. I don't have a play call that's going to fix this. That's the effect of an elite team, and the Rams are definitely playing like the most elite team in the NFL right now.
So the Rams are the 1 seed in the NFC. You have the Eagles at 2. You got the Bears at 3. You have the Bucs at 4. And then your wild card teams are the Seahawks, the Packers, and the 49ers. So Diante, despite the Lions win today over the Giants, they would be out of the playoffs if the playoffs started today. They're the 8th seed at 7-4. Panthers play Monday night. They're 6-5. And then this Cowboys team, 10th seed right now, Diante, 5-1. I'm not, trying to go all first take or, whatever you want and be like, we have to lead with the Cowboys. But I actually think the Cowboys have a real shot of going on a run and sneaking in. It's not the most likely outcome. They're plus 520. I'm not bold enough to predict it, but they would have to go like 5-1 down the stretch. And just that game today against the Eagles, where they get off to the rocky start, you referenced it, they come back. That offense is just like most weeks, that's just going to be tough to deal with. Those two wide receivers who are now, if they're healthy with Dak Prescott, with the offensive line, with the stuff they scheme up in the run game. So I was looking at this. I think they probably have to finish like 5-1 down the stretch. And they've got the Chiefs on Thanksgiving, and then they're at the Lions. So those are two tough games. After that, Vikings, Chargers, at Washington, at the Giants. So I actually think if they can beat the Chiefs or the Lions the next 2 weeks, go 1-1 and then win their final 4 games, they're 10-6-1 and they're getting in. Is that crazy? I know it's far-fetched, but what does your heart tell you is possible with this Cowboys team?
I mean, I'm right there with you. I was joking right before we got on the show that I've been in every playoff simulator, tapping away at games teams can win and lose and how that's going to shape the rest of the playoff race. And I'm right there with you. I've kind of had it laid out the exact same way where Dallas can split these two games up against Detroit and Kansas City. And if they win out the rest of the way, they do need help, right? Like they're going to need San Francisco to kind of nosedive, right? And I think that that's a possibility just given how hurt this defense has been. And then they really need the NFC North to just like totally beat up on each other. Detroit plays Chicago twice. Chicago still got to play Green Bay again. They need those games to just be a wild smattering of results, right? And no one team runs away with it. So that way they're all kind of jostling with each other to either win the division or not make the playoffs at all. That would be the best pathway. I do think, though, almost more interesting for me with Dallas is that they can play spoiler for Kansas City and Detroit. I think I'm less invested in whether or not the Cowboys can make the playoffs. And these will be greater conversations to have in the offseason about their roster building and kind of trying to tee everything up more for 2026 than this year. But at least for 2025, they can 100% ruin Kansas City's shot to get back in the AFC playoff race. And they can have a large influence on what can happen in the NFC North if they're able to beat Detroit. I don't have them as a playoff team, but I do think they're one of the teams that's on the outside looking in that can have the most outsized impact on the final 14 that we get in the tournament come January.
Yeah, the NFC North is the most interesting aspect to this because right now you look at the standings and you say the Chicago Bears are 8-3. And then I go to FanDuel and I look at it and I say, the Bears have worse odds than the Lions and Packers right now just to get into the playoffs. So basically the way it's set up is like this. Of the following teams, Bears, Packers, Lions, 49ers, and we'll throw the Cowboys in there in case you think the Cowboys can get in. Only 3 of those teams are going to get in. So whoever wins the NFC North and then 2 wild card teams. That's assuming Rams win the NFC West. Seahawks are a wild card team. Those teams, those things seem pretty sure at this point. So again, Bears, Packers, Lions, 49ers, and Cowboys. Only 3 can get in. And Diante, I was getting ready for the pod and I'm going, I think this, if I couldn't decide. Who do you got? Who do you have from that group? If I told you 3 of those teams are getting in, which are the 3 you would pick right now?
I think right now, Chicago ends up being the odd team out, actually, in spite of being the division leader at the moment. Because you would have to make an argument that Chicago is going to handle the games they're supposed to handle against the Browns. You'd have to pick them to beat the 49ers. And then from there, you would have to feel very strongly that they can beat Philadelphia, Green Bay, one out of the 2 times they play, and Detroit to end the season. Now, if Detroit goes on a heater, right, and they get to week 18 and they don't have anything to play for because they've wrapped up the division, maybe Chicago can get a backdoor sneak in that way. But you would still need help if you're the Bears. I think if you're San Francisco, you look at their upcoming schedule. If they win tomorrow night against the Panthers, they're kind of sitting pretty, even though I don't think they're actually a good team. Because then you have Cleveland, you have Tennessee. You can probably beat both of those teams without necessarily needing to play your A game. And then you should be feeling like there's really nothing that can go wrong for them unless there's just like some disaster scenario where a bunch of other tie breaks work out or teams stack up enough wins to where they end up being the odd team out. I think they're going to be a 10-7 team that gets into the playoffs. So I would say that San Francisco would be with Chicago, those 2 teams being kind of on the fringe. I think I'll be leaning a little bit more San Francisco and Detroit and Green Bay filling up the rest of the NFC wild card.
All right. I think the Bears are the team that best represents the 2025 NFL season, Diante, because I was thinking about this. At this point, we've done many pods together. You know my beats, the stuff I reference, and all those things would tell you, do not trust the Chicago Bears. Okay. They are 6-1 in 1-score games. They've got a -3 point differential, which if you look at it, the last 10 years, there's only been 2 times a team had 8 or more wins through week 12. And had a negative point differential. The other was the 2020 Browns. So they are not as good as their record says. Yet I look at this and I say, if the Bears were on a neutral field against one of these other NFC teams in the coming weeks, do I really think they're frauds and that they can't win? And the answer is no. I think they could win because I think their run game's going to be good. I think they can scheme up explosives. I know they're just feasting on turnovers on defense. I don't really believe in their defense, but right. I look at all those things and I'm like, all these teams are so flawed this year. Like if this was another year, if this were even last year, where you had the Eagles playing the way they were playing, where you had the Lions playing the way they were playing, even the Packers last year, I would have been like, no, this Bears team, they're frauds. I would be coming on here saying, get them out of here. They're not making it. I just don't feel that in my heart this year. Like you could tell me over the next 6 weeks, they play better than some of those teams and they beat some of those teams. So while the resume is not what I typically like from a division winner or a playoff team, I actually am not going so far as to say like, they're kind of growing on me, honestly. I watch them every week and I see them do some of the same nonsense. And I see Caleb Williams have some great plays and I see him escape from some sacks and I see guys running wide open and I see their defense and I'm like, you know what? If I were a Bears fan, I'm having a great time this year watching this team.
Look, first of all, I just enjoy the fact that we're just slowly kind of brushing away at those rough edges on Sheil, right? And slowly but surely, he's leaving some of the more ardent takes and just saying, hey, man, if you're having a good time, I'm having a good time right there with you with Chicago. And I will say to that point, if I wanted to take the other side of the argument I just made about the Bears missing out, I would say a lot of what you're saying, right? They have a lot of the component pieces that you would like to see offensively. I tweeted it earlier today that they've been one of the better second half offenses in the league, if not the best second half offense in the league. They do a great job of making adjustments. And to your point differential point, I think that if you're a Bears fan, you would say that Lions game in week 2 has an outsized impact on that, right? Like that game totally got away from them early, turnovers, 3 and outs, bad field position, the whole thing. You end up losing by 31 points. And for the rest of the season, they're basically playing in 1-score games. Now, that probably means you're not as good as your record suggests that you are. And you're definitely kind of taking advantage of that 1-score game variance. But I think that if you're Chicago, this is a success almost on its own. I don't really care about what seeding we're in if I'm a Bears fan, right? I'm just glad that the quarterback looks like what he was billed as when he was drafted and that your head coach in year 1 looks like the kind of guy that we thought he could be coming into this scenario.
Hold on. That was the case going into this season, Diante. Now you're 8-3. If you don't make the playoffs, if you don't make the playoffs now, talk to a Bears fan in January. They're not feeling good about the future. They're 8-3. They have to go 3-3 down the stretch. They're an 11-win team and they're in the playoffs.
I'm with you. And just like I know you from podcasting with you, you know me. I'm always ready to shift the blame to the people who really deserve it, in my opinion. So Bears fans, if you're looking for somebody to be mad at, Ryan Poles is your guy. If you go 10-7 and miss the playoffs, you talk to Ryan Poles and say, hey, man, all the time you spent trying to draft guys and develop, we're trying to get this program together where you're looking at all these great athletes and basically borrowing from the relative athletic score to kind of shape your big board. Why aren't these defensive players making more of an impact? Why are we getting guys that are always hurt? That's where you should be shifting the blame to. It should be less about whether or not.
I love it.
Exactly. I'm always setting that up. It's not about Ben Johnson. It's not about Caleb Williams. The real issue here, if they don't make the playoffs, is Ryan Poles. That's your agenda if you're a Bears fan.
All right. You know what? I'm going to say the Bears get in. I'm going to embrace the chaos. I'm going to say all 3 of those NFC North teams get in. The 49ers don't get in. The Cowboys don't get in. You know what? That's how I feel at this very moment. I'll change my mind next week, but that's why we do so many pods here. All right, let's finish this with the NFC. Because I was thinking this, Diante. For the first time all season, as what I just said probably indicates, I am open to the chaos. Okay, so I was trying to come up with the most chaotic scenario in the NFC. You tell me what here seems maybe the least likely or what you can get behind. Panthers win the NFC South. So we just watched the Bucs stink it up. Baker Mayfield, we don't know about this injury. The Panthers are right behind them with this Monday night game looming against the 49ers. So Panthers win the NFC South. Bears win the NFC North. We just talked about them. The Cowboys getting in. We talked about that scenario. And the Lions and the 49ers not making the playoffs. The Lions needed a 59-yard field goal to force overtime at home against the Giants today, giving up more than 500 yards to Jameis and Mike Kafka and whoever else was on the field there. So what if that scenario do you feel like, all right, settle down, Sheil, that's not happening? What can you get behind?
I had to fight every bit of my body to not stop you as soon as you brought up the Panthers. That it is very clearly the one that is least likely to happen is Carolina making the playoffs. The ask is just too high. I don't think there's any way in the world they beat either the Rams or the Seahawks. Even if the Seahawks don't have anything to play for come week 17, there's just such a delta in between roster talent and the way that these teams have played. And then you're telling me they'd have to beat the 49ers on Monday. We talked about that earlier in the show. And they would have to, at worst, split the games against the Buccaneers. And the Bucs have been hurt. We will see, obviously, what the scenario is going to be with Baker Mayfield. They've been dealing with injuries all across this roster all year long. And I know that it would be easy coming off of this Sunday night game where the Bucs just got totally run off the field against the Rams to say, hey, maybe there is a window open for this team to make the playoffs. Too many things have to work in Carolina's favor for them to make the postseason. There's no way I would pick any other scenario other than Carolina missing the postseason, even though to the same point we made with the Bears, I think if you're a Panthers fan, and maybe a little bit more realistically for them than with the Bears, because, Bears fans can be a little irrational because they've been quarterback thirsty, they've been head coach thirsty. I think if you're Carolina, the fact that you got through a full season with Bryce Young as the starter, it wasn't a disaster. You guys won some close games. The run game thing has existed from last year to this year, just as stable with different running backs from Chuba Hubbard last year to more Rico Dowdle this season. You should feel good if you're a Panthers fan, even if you don't make the playoffs. And I see you shaking your head,
Diante, too many moral victories. What are we talking about here? We got playoff races to talk about. All right. Listen, this is about getting in or not getting in for these fan bases. They're dreaming of just that Saturday afternoon where even if it's only one game, they can say our team made the playoffs. They're not looking at 8-9. Let's go celebrate Rico Dowdle today in January. Come on.
I am trying to free our NFL fans of the shame of the 2-7 blowout on Wild Card Weekend. You don't have to experience that, okay? You can be free coming right out of the new year, feeling great about everything. Your team got a winning record, might not have made the playoffs, but that's where you could trick yourself. You can run all the hypotheticals all year long, all off season long about if we would have made it, we would have played X, Y, or Z team closer. That's what I'm really rooting for all of these teams on the fringe.
Yeah. We would have beat them. That is a fun fan thing. We would have beat them if we got in. So you can always count on that. All right. NFC, lots to sort out. That NFC North is really the one. Those teams all still playing each other. NFC South still needs to get sorted out. Despite what Diante said, the Bucs are the favorites. Rams look like a pretty good lock. Not a lock, but they are in the driver's seat for the 1 seed there. All right. Let's take a break. We come back. We talk about the AFC. The Ringer NFL show is brought to you by FanDuel. This Thanksgiving, FanDuel is introducing a brand new way to parlay together. It's called Pass the Leg. Here's how it works. Start a group, add your pick, then pass it to your friends so they can add theirs. When everyone's done, you each lock in the parlay with your own funds. On top, everyone gets a 50% profit boost to use on their build. In Missouri, get ready because FanDuel's going live on December 1st. FanDuel, play your game. Must be 21 plus and present in select states or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. The holidays move quickly like a blitz to save the game. That's where Prime comes in with fast, free delivery. Someone noticed my golf clubs in the garage and said, these are hideous. You need to clean these. So you know what I did? Go on Amazon Prime, find the golf brush, find a little bucket. And now you know what? Going to be able to clean those bad boys. It just shows up right at my doorstep. Prime's fast shipping is always there for you during the holidays, especially when it's last minute and just can't wait. Need some holiday magic? It's on Prime. Head to amazon.com/prime to shop now. All right, we're back on the Ringer NFL show. Kind of less to be sorted out in the AFC, I guess you could say here, looking at it. So you look at the playoffs right now, and it would be the New England Patriots as the 1 seed. They get a win against the Bengals. The Broncos had a bye. They're the 2 seed. Colts 3, Ravens 4, Chargers 5, Jags 6, Bills 7, And then you look at the teams that are out of it right now, but have a chance. You got the Steelers at 6-5, the Texans at 6-5, and the Chiefs at 6-5. Let's start with that Chiefs Colts game, Diante. I was really trying to think like how differently I feel about these two teams. And I think I do feel differently. Well, I shouldn't say differently about the Colts, because I've been kind of like everyone pumped the brakes a little bit on the Colts. And I do still think that AFC South can be had. Jaguars win, Texans win in week 12. So that's still up for grabs there. And then that Chiefs team, which I've been saying, I still like them. I would still pick them. I mean, there was a time in that game where I just go, this is a lot of Kareem Hunt, man, for a team that's trying to that I'm saying can get to the Super Bowl. All due respect to Kareem Hunt, but in the year 2025, 33 carries for Kareem Hunt. I'm a veteran of Andy Reid in some of these big games where it gets a little tight and you get a little uncomfortable. You could feel that. I was feeling that in the fourth quarter of this game, and I just had a moment where I'm like, do they have enough good players to actually go on a run, both in the regular season and in the playoffs? So they're definitely back in the mix. They wouldn't be in. They got more work to do, but I thought I would feel better about them after them having won this game than I actually do.
I'm with you. And I think if we laid out a hypothetical where Patrick Mahomes passes for 350 yards, Jonathan Taylor goes for less than 60 yards rushing, right? That you would, and
33 first downs.
200 yards. Yeah. Exactly. You would not pick out a game flow that lands with an overtime 3-point win for Kansas City. You would think, oh, wow, okay, the Chiefs are right back to where we thought they'd be. Maybe Steve Spagnuolo caused a bunch of problems for Daniel Jones, even if he didn't turn the ball over, et cetera, right? Not the way that this game felt at all. It did feel like, if anything, this was a Spags win. I think if you're giving somebody the game ball, you're giving the game ball to Steve Spagnuolo for the second half adjustments, really taking away the runs between the tackles, flummoxing Daniel Jones. And I think putting Shane Steichen in a lot of uncomfortable positions on third downs where you have to make decisions on how aggressive do we want to be? Do we want to play for a 4th and short? Do we want to try to get it all right now? And I think that you saw them kind of hung up in between decisions, bringing the offense out, trying to draw guys off sides instead of just being aggressive and taking those chances. So that part was great for Kansas City. It was hard, though, before those last couple of drives in the fourth quarter and overtime, watching Patrick Mahomes look at times a bit flummoxed. The way he looked, honestly, the last time he played against...
I didn't think he played great. Like, I didn't think Patrick Mahomes played great today.
For a 350-yard game, this was not a great Patrick Mahomes game. And like I said, before those fourth quarter drives to tie the game and then the overtime go-ahead drive, it looked like he was really having trouble figuring out where he wanted to go with the football in some key passing situations. And I think that if you're a Kansas City fan, you should not walk away from this game feeling good about anything other than you get another week where your playoff hopes are alive.
Yeah, you get the win, but it doesn't feel like you turned the corner. I mean, when they settled for that field goal at the end of regulation, I'm like, this is it. They're like, this is over. I'm going to have to admit to Diante that he was right and I was right. I don't have to do it yet, but yeah, I just don't feel great about him. I mean, I thought Tony Romo was as critical of Mahomes as I've heard a broadcaster be in maybe his career, talking about how he was going through his reads too quickly, wasn't waiting for stuff to get open. He did feel sort of panics too far, but like Fournette, there was the pace. It was kind of like, he's like, I'm doing this, like I'm making a play. And sometimes it was good. He made some great plays. I'm not saying he played poorly, but there were times in this game where it just felt like, oh man, I'm looking around going, I don't know, maybe Diante was right and they don't have it. So they survive. But my point is, I'm not like, oh yeah, and now they're just going to go on a run, which is kind of how I thought I'd be feeling if they won this game. What about the other side of this? You mentioned Spags. I totally agree. But the Colts, you pointed to it. Steichen had some uncertainty. Their last 4 possessions, I mean, they really needed one drive on their last 4 possessions to win the game, and they couldn't do it. The last 4 possessions across midfield, 4 punts, 13 yards, 0 first downs for what has statistically been the best offense in the NFL. And now, by the way, you still have to play the Texans twice. You still have to play the Jaguars twice. You don't have a huge lead over those teams. You're 8-3. The Jaguars are 7-4, and the Texans are 6-5. How are you feeling this week today if you're a Colts fan?
You have to be queasy. You have to be queasy knowing that you got 4 divisional games coming up. Not that, and that doesn't mean that what we've seen over their first 11 games means nothing. I just think that gravity's undefeated, right? And I think that right now, that force is definitely pulling on the Colts offense. I don't think they're going to be a bad offense down the stretch. I don't think that we're going to get on a podcast after week 18 and you're going to be pulling up stats from True Media about how Indianapolis was the 29th best offense by success rate in the last 6-7 weeks of the year. I don't think it's going to fall off a cliff. I do think when you think about the Texans twice, you have to see the Seahawks, right, within that stretch. I just think you're going to see more elite/competent level opponents the rest of the way. And that just opens up the door for more mistakes to happen for a quarterback that we know is prone to mistakes, especially when he's pressured. And I think that thought was definitely in Shane Steichen's mind. I felt like during the second half of games, you saw some early down passes. You didn't see the same kind of early down aggression that you typically get from the Colts offense, at least in 2025. I wonder what it's going to look like next week when you know you're dealing with an elite pass rush. I think that in a way that it hasn't really been for Indianapolis all year, we're going to have a 1-game sample that I think we're all going to use kind of as a bellwether for how much we can trust the Colts. Not that they have to go hang 40 on Houston, but if they look as bad against Houston as Buffalo did on Thursday, I think that when we come back to this conversation talking about the AFC, the way that we've talked about the Colts will definitely be reversed a bit, I think, coming down the stretch of the season.
It's definitely recency bias, but I almost feel like the Texans were the biggest winners in week 12. And now I'm looking at them going, like, if you told me the Texans beat the Colts twice, I wouldn't be like, that's crazy, the rest of the way with that
with Davis Mills, man.
Yeah. With Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter and those corners.
3-0 with those guys. Probably
with those guys.
To do with Davis Mills.
With those guys, it's like they're just going to have a chance, and who knows? So the AFC South, it's not over. The Colts are still the favorites. The Jags, Diante, we can finish with this. I mean, just the most Jaguarsian game. Is that what I'm like? -4 on turnovers. They let the Jacoby Brissett Arizona Cardinals come back. Trevor Lawrence, 3 interceptions and a fumble. And yet they still win the game and are 7-4. But I don't have them in the playoffs, Diante. I still am going to stick with the Bills, Chiefs, and I'm going to have the Texans in as my third wild card. So where are you, Jaguars, and the rest of this wild card picture as we finish up here?
I'm not budging. I mean, my take was too hot saying that Kansas City was going to miss the playoffs.
It's been looking good, Diante. I would have. Now's not the time to back down. You might still be right. I'm not abandoning that. I'm going to hold on. I'm going to hold on to that ticket for as long as I can. But I do think, and I wrote this today when we were going through power rankings. Like, if you're a Jags fan, please choose happiness over the holidays. You don't have to ride this roller coaster, okay? I'm not telling you got to totally divest, all right? But be a front runner, okay? When they play the Colts, look away. In the second half, if it's close, you can tune in. Let Red Zone, right? Let the Red Zone channel tell you how invested to be in the Jags the rest of this season. Go watch some good football elsewhere, man, please. Because I'm right there with you. I think that since the upset win over the Chiefs, which is like very quietly just become one of the most consequential games of the NFL season. Now, when you start talking about tie breaks in the playoff picture, I feel like I have been coming into every Sunday saying, this is the week where Trevor Lawrence is going to stand tall in the pocket, dice a defense up, and we're going to see the $275 million quarterback that we've been waiting on since he was drafted. And every week, it is the clunkiest passing game for any playoff caliber team outside of the Eagles, it feels like. I don't know what is going to take for it to get fixed, because it's drop issues one week, then it's protection issues the next week, and then it's a play calling kind of disjointedness the next week. We have just not seen anything really come together cohesively for this passing game. And I think that because the AFC is so wide open and because we know there are so many teams in close competition, there's no way that you can invest past your nose, honestly, for a team that cannot pass the ball, right? Like, that's just kind of where I'm at with Jacksonville. I think they'll make the playoffs ultimately because they do have Tennessee twice. They do have the Jets. I think they'll get to 10-7. They're losing one of those games. They're absolutely losing one of those 3 games.
I wish I could make an argument to the contrary. But I can't, right? And I think that, maybe Denver has the division wrapped up and they're feeling good week 16 when they play and they're able to go beat a team that's not very motivated. If they get to 11 wins, they're 100% safe, in my opinion. I just don't feel good about it. I don't care where they're seated. I don't care who their first round matchup is going to be. I think they make the playoffs and they are 100% going to get trounced in the first round, in my opinion.
All right. Thanks to Diante Lee. No hurry up today. We had too much to get to, so we'll get to the other stuff later this week. Thanks to Christopher Sutton for producing, Kiera Gibbons on social, and additional production supervision by Conor Nevins and Arjuna Ramgopowell. We'll talk to you tomorrow on The Ringer NFL Show. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.